Welcome back to Truth Hurts, where we expose corrupt politicians and the lying corporate media. We're broadcasting live from Roseville, Minnesota, in the belly of the beast, just next to Minneapolis, Minnesota. They're actually trying to make this a sanctuary state here. Can you believe that, Jesse?
It's unbelievable.
Joining me, as usual, reading your comments today is Megan. Jesse, what are we going to talk about today?
Yeah, that's right. We got a lot of good stuff to get into here because we've got a first-hand witness for potential human trafficking and interview lined up here for Mallory Staples, the Georgia director of the State Freedom Caucus Network. So we're going to be learning a lot of good things from her today. Minnesota is trying to become a sanctuary state. A man was arrested for trying to defend his land from illegal immigrants. An ICE director confirms that border-crossing terrorists was caught in Minnesota. We got some new NBC polling out there about the presidential election. Nikki Haley says the Nevada primary was rigged against her. She's taking that loss real well. And we got some good stuff from Eli Crane and Joe Rogan. So
you got to stick around for the Joe Rogan segment. This is really interesting stuff. Just signed a big deal, and listen how red-pilled he is.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Running the dials as normal as Dawson, Mr. Deep State.
Hello.
Okay.
Today's leg day. That's the big news I've got.
All right. That was not important to anyone. No one really cares. No one cares, Dawson.
Okay, that's because nobody sees my quads on a regular basis.
No one is asking to see your quads. Leave those white guns down there.
They're mine.
We don't need to see those.
There is no tan on them whatsoever.
You know what people do care about is Alpine Cabinetry in East St. Cloud sponsoring this show. Also, Warren Wessel Realty. Give Warren a call if you're buying a home or selling a home. You can reach Warren at 612-419-7453. You think I'd know that number by heart by now? 612-419-7453. Warren is the man. He sold my home and helped me find my home. This guy knows what he's doing, and he thinks like you and me. That's the most important part right there. Actually, no, it's not. That's second to being good at your job.
Right.
I'm not going to tell someone just because they believe what you do if they're not proficient. So he's proficient at what he does. Okay? Before we bring Mallory on, let's go back to this video. This was a story by Daily Caller. Is it Jenny Tare? Is that her name? Do we remember Jenna Tare? You were skeptical of all this, Dawson. You're like, oh, she's wrong about all these stories. Then we confirmed the ICE director confirmed they did catch a terrorist.
Yeah.
So she's one for one right now. Jenny Tare. She's 1 for 1 against you. So can she go 2 for 2? So this is a story now that we knew Colton Moore because he was on our program before. This is a whistleblower that told him that there are people being trafficked, migrants, through the Atlanta airport. And this is a video. We showed this last week, and we just weren't able to get him on. So we're going to have Mallory, who was there with them, talk to us about it. But I wanted to show you this video again. Let's go about 50 seconds into it, Dawson, because that's when I think it starts getting important here.
What do you want to do? Put them to work? No, I just want to get a documentation of them. Are you like ICE or something? Senator from here in the state of Georgia. Senator Colton Moore, representing Northwest Georgia.
Yeah, they have like government like some kind of agency that works with in there.
Okay.
They're just talking to some drill sergeant who's probably waiting for some new recruits to show up.
I think he's one.
How's it going, man? Yeah. You guys documented or?
Yeah. Yeah.
Transporting anybody anywhere?
Yeah, we're all getting them placed to where they need to be.
Okay, where do they need to be?
All over the place.
Where are they coming from?
As in, like, country of origin and stuff like that. Also all over the place.
All over the place?
Yeah.
You know when they come into the U.S.?
Why? Can I ask you why you're asking these questions?
Yeah. The senator from Northwest Georgia.
Yeah.
And not a big fan of human trafficking. Just want to make sure
everything's
above board here.
Yeah, so these are just recently documented travelers getting released from ICE, getting to where they need to be.
Yeah. So you're for a company of volunteer.
Yeah.
Team Liberty.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that a non-government organization? What is that?
Yeah.
So you receive. How'd you get the job?
I'm a volunteer.
Just a volunteer?
There's people that they get dropped off here from ICE detention with no help, so we just,
All right.
yeah.
Sounds good, man. Care if we,
Good?
yeah, care if we come in? Just take a little closer look.
I mean, you can stand right there. I don't know you I don't know you very well either, so.
Just let me get a video if you don't mind.
Actually, you cannot get a video.
No.
You cannot get a video.
No, you're not allowed.
You're not allowed. You're done.
Okay.
Okay, that's why we wanted to have you on the program, Mallory. This is Mallory Staples, director of Georgia State Freedom Caucus, works with Colton Moore. You were there at the airport that day. You also had the whistleblower reach out to you that informed you. So tell us the story. Give us the background on what's going on here.
Yeah, so I was contacted by a friend of mine who'd been involved in the grassroots efforts here for several years in Georgia. She said, I've got somebody that I think you want to talk to. And so I spoke with this person. We were informed they are a volunteer down at the airport, and they said they'd been watching this happen for a long time, that illegals were coming through the airport and in plain sight a lot of times. But he said, I know the location, and if you want to come down, this is when you should come. So I talked to Senator Moore about it and our legislative director, Blake Bassham, and they said, we are coming with you for sure. And so the three of us went down. We'd been waiting about 4 hours and couldn't locate the whistleblower. Finally found him, and he said, hey, you're actually not in the right spot. He said, walk over here. So we did, and he showed us all the room, pointed up there as the second floor, which I'm sure you've heard, already. And he's a slightly older gentleman, and just for the sake of time, Senator Moore and our legislative director, Blake Bassham, said, hey, we'll walk on and you come behind. And with this gentleman, so fortunately, considering the assault that happened at the end of that video by one of Biden's federal officers to Senator Moore, I'm glad I was not in closer proximity, but could hear them when Colton and Blake were leaving, just screaming obscenities. Senator Moore actually said, sir, there might be children around here. It was so distasteful what they were saying. And a little bit surreal, actually. We felt the need to get out of the airport pretty quickly after that. We weren't sure if they were going to try and, take our phone or what exactly was going to happen. So, yeah. That's Hartsfield International.
See, I watch that video and I'm just like, okay, is there some explanation for it? Are these people that are flying into the country, there's an actual NGO group or just a nonprofit that's helping administer people for whatever reason? Okay, I'm just playing devil's advocate here. And then I watch the end of that video and I go, wait a second. As soon as he just talks about possibly filming, it's not one, it's like two people immediately get on his case. I'm like, why? What is with that escalation so quickly? Yeah, and then we don't obviously see the assault, but you said by a federal official, a Biden federal official, who did the assault?
So the room was being guarded by military, and if you watch when the very beginning of the video starts, if you hold the frame, you can actually see the soldier's face who's sitting there at the door, who Colton had a very friendly exchange with initially. And that's who at the end you see you see the same uniform arm come in, and that's who said you're done. And so it was at the point at which Colton began to lift his arm to film the room that it became, violent and aggressive. So
see what doesn't make what. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, this was not shocking. I mean, in 2020, I personally went to the border. I was there for several days, saw the legals being processed through HHS and handed off to NGOs. I watched them get cell phones. I watched them get cash cards, clothes. I saw the building where they went for medical attention. I mean, this is not, I saw the rape trees. We were down on the Rio Grande River. We saw snipers in the trees and coyotes driving by in trucks and shoving, women and children into the river so that Border Patrol would go to save them. And then we look down, there's hundreds of people coming across the border at the same time. I mean, this is not a concept that is unfamiliar to anyone who is keeping up with what's going on in our country under this administration. And then I flew home and went through security with illegals who held up just a piece of paper. Why I, had my driver's license and all but, a cavity search to get on the airplane with the ticket that I had purchased and was taxed on again. And they got on the flight. They were asked where they wanted to go. We flew from Texas to Atlanta, and they had the option to get off there or go on to Detroit or New York. I mean, this is happening.
Paid by
everywhere.
Paid by NGOs or who's paying?
Yes,
making the
there are
payments?
21 something NGOs, 21, 22 at the time when we were there. Our briefing, when I was at the border, and we were there with Tom Homan, who's headed up ICE under 6 presidents, Mark Morgan, who's run Customs and Border Patrol, Admiral Kubik, who built the wall under Donald Trump, General Flynn. I mean, this was a very informed trip that I went on, and it's been going on for quite some time. I mean, I'm sure you've seen the stories out of Chicago O'Hare Airport, up in New York. I mean, if they're not here, then these governors like DeSantis and Abbott can't send busfuls of them, to these Democratic cities and drop them off. And I mean, here in Georgia, our governor, you can pull up his commercials, ran his last election campaign with the promises in his truck with his shotgun of rounding up all the illegals in Georgia and getting them out. He had an extensive plan for that. So
Did he have a video? Did you know that? Did he have a video like that?
Oh
with
yeah,
shotgun
no,
and
I
everything?
know about that. So is there anything that Brian Kemp is trying to do about that? Is the transfer of illegal aliens prohibited by law? Is there anything law enforcement can do in Georgia to prevent this?
Yes, our Constitution says that in the case of invasion, the governor can take action. He can even raise funds and allocate funds for this very specific purpose. So that is in our Constitution, and the flack that your people are getting, or we're hearing when you try and bring this up, is, oh, it's a federal issue. It's a federal issue. Well, our Constitution here in Georgia allows for that, and it is amazingly ironic and disturbing that our governor is flying to Texas to support the Texas governor taking action against this federal government to defend his state from invasion. Yet our Constitution provides very similar language, and nothing's being done here in Georgia.
Yeah, I assume by the
someone
name.
help me.
I assume by the name of your organization, we see very much alike on states' rights and the 10th Amendment, and everything like that. Here's what I think the big story is. Obviously, we hear anecdotal stories about migrants being shipped around the country, and we hear, some of it we know of, obviously, as you alluded to, but what I think the big story here would be, it's actually some kind of federal program or some federal protection. And what I don't see happening here is this military man. And I don't know if you have any kind of military background. I do. In fact, Atlanta's near and dear to my heart because back then it was Fort Benning. The woke culture changed that. But I shipped down there when I was 18 to Fort Benning to go to basic training. That's a drill sergeant there. I can't imagine a drill sergeant has a mission to protect some migrant trafficking. What he's doing there, in my opinion, is waiting for new recruits to get off a plane so that he can in-process them at Fort Benning, Georgia, and yell and scream at them for the next 9 weeks.
Nice.
Am I missing something here? I mean, the guy's got a drill sergeant hat on. It's very clear he's a drill sergeant.
Yes.
His patch is 194th Armored, so that's a training unit there for basic training.
Yeah, and that was one of Senator Moore's comments was he felt like the gentleman's reaction, it was so disproportional. It was so aggressive to put your hands on a sitting state senator like that and try and commandeer a personal item of his is just beyond what a normal person would consider. But he felt like there was a lot of demonstration there for the recruits. I mean, of course, we're not sure. And
you're saying he basically was just trying to be heroic in that moment? Because I thought you alluded to.
That was the senator's, one of his comments was, gosh, and he even said when they were walking off, like I mentioned, he was like, sir, there might be children here. I think you need to tone it down. Senator Moore was trying to pull him back in between the guardrails, but he felt like he was showing out a lot for the other recruits.
Yeah, but
potentially. I mean,
that's
and
it. I mean, you kind of but he wasn't like, this isn't his task. I mean, this isn't his mission. He's not there for that.
We don't know. The airport has denied that they were even there. They've said there were no military personnel there whatsoever. And
well, I mean, there's always military personnel at Atlanta. I mean, always, because it's a major.
Interesting that they're saying there weren't any, and that there was no footage there when it is the most surveilled, site in the state of Georgia. It's the busiest airport in the country, and that this one particular room had no cameras. Watching this space is very interesting and certainly deserves some answers and some commentary. All of which we have not been able to obtain. So,
well, no, obviously they're in a certain part of the airport. They have a pretty sizable room, so the airport commission or whatever is in charge of it is giving them this space. So there has to be some bit of
cooperation.
Right. Some cooperation. I guess it could be NGO led, but I mean, what part of the airport is this?
To, Team Libertad's Facebook page, and thank you to all the grassroots that have taken the initiative to become investigative journalists. They went through their Facebook page and they document how to get to this room, where this room is. There's pictures all over their Facebook page of what they're doing. And actually the two people that were in the video that Senator Moore was speaking to are all over the Facebook page. They talk about what they do there. So they're not.
What did they say? What did they say they do?
Escorting these incoming migrants to shuttle buses, to new locations, directing them through the airport to connecting flights, on and on.
Do we think that these people are coming across the border, getting on a flight and going through Atlanta? Obviously, Atlanta is a major hub. Or are they coming from, or is it all the above? I guess I didn't think of that, but from.
I mean, I personally can attest to the fact that they're getting on airports in Texas. They're getting on planes and airports at Texas and flying to Atlanta with the option to both get off and connect on to the city of their choice.
Interesting.
And
I witnessed that firsthand. So yeah.
Sure, and I had seen Senator Colton Moore speaking on the Senate floor, and he had said that his staff witnessed an illegal immigrant who spoke no English, was illiterate in Spanish, and was having a total breakdown and anxiety attack, and that it was on, the burden was on an airport custodian. And so I'm wondering, why do you think the Democrats are taking advantage of these vulnerable people? And it sounds like this is happening very often, and it just sounds, heartbreaking. Why do you think this is going on?
It is, because they do not care about people. They care about power. What I saw on the border is a humanitarian crisis. Rape trees, children being used as luggage to get drugs into the country. I mean, the human shrapnel that is at our border, that is now run by the cartels, you cannot like humanity, much less love them and allow what's going on to happen. I mean, this administration has knowingly admitted to losing 85,000 children. And that number, from what I understand from my congressional information, is a gross underestimation of what's going on. And, I don't want to date myself, but when I grew up and one child went missing, their face was all over a milk carton.
Oh, yeah.
This administration is saying, 85,000, we're not sure where they went. I mean, this is a humanitarian crisis for sure. They do not care about people. They are voters, and voters that will allow them to stay in power if they have it their way forever.
Well, at least get it counted in the census. I don't know how quickly the path to votership happens. Although in Minnesota, we allowed driver's license for illegals, so and it's the same driver's license.
To your point, when they're counted in the census, that affects the congressional demographic for Republican and Democrat. That is another piece of the pie. But yes, they're creating express lanes for pathways to citizenship. I've been told out of DC that this administration, it's not getting reported on, has now created a national ID that is very similar to our driver's licenses that they are giving them. When I was there, which was in 2020, like I said, it was paper. now they're getting a legitimate ID to expedite this process of them voting. So you're absolutely right. And the census is tampering with the census affects the balance of power between the two parties in DC as well.
Where does this story go from here on out? I mean, I guess I think Timcast talked about it. I don't think it got covered by, shocking, the corporate media. So where does this story go from here?
Well, we gave Daily Caller an exclusive. Fox did pick it up. I mean, we've been getting calls from senators and congressmen and all kinds of things, but where it falls off is in effectiveness and next steps is with Republican leadership. I mean, I heard a Newsmax anchor getting ready to interview a Republican congressional rep here in Georgia, and he said, what's going on? He said, from where we sit, it doesn't feel like Republicans in Georgia give a damn. And it does seem that way. So we need leadership to engage, to protect the citizens of Georgia. Our tax dollars are going towards supporting all of these illegals that are coming in. I mean, when I was there, this was the catchphrase, and it's been said ever since. Every state is a border state when your country's wide open. So there really isn't a state in the country that can intelligently assume they're not on the receiving end of the millions and millions of people that are coming across our border, breaking our laws as their first act in the United States.
Yeah, we're so naive in Minnesota, and I'm pointing myself here to think, oh, okay, you know, it just doesn't affect us as much. Although northern border crossings are skyrocketing, which is crazy too. But
yes,
and we don't want those terrorists from Canada coming down here, by the way, the Trudeau administration. But we literally had, and this was Jenny Terra's story on Daily Caller, a terrorist who came across the border, roamed freely for 10 months, and just got nabbed in Minnesota. It's like,
yes,
that's a big deal. I got a family here, you know? They're
that's
coming
right.
across the
well,
border.
You're not safe here. And what Mark Morgan explained to me, which was very eye-opening, is the process, this infrastructure that the cartels have set up, and the technology that they have is mind-blowing. It is like NASA-level technology. Nothing is happening on the borders that the cartels are not controlling. But this infrastructure that they have across the country, their network and how they're moving these people in, and I'm coming up blank on the word. There's a new term at the time for these houses where they're sending these folks that have paid, you know, $5,000-$10,000 to the coyotes to get across the border, to get dispensed throughout the country. But their new 2 years ago tactic was these more rural, like safe houses for the cartels, where these people go, men, women, and children, to work off the debt that they have to the cartels. And they are charged, but they're in rural areas, is my whole point to you. They're not all going to LA and New York and Detroit.
Right.
And they're going to rural areas because the police forces there are minimal, and they can fly undercover for longer periods of time. They charge these people room and board. They charge them by the water bottle of water that they consume. So this is human slavery is what's happening.
Oh, yeah.
And these folks are having to do God knows what for however many years. But they're coming to not just cities, but rural neighborhoods, and have been for years now under this administration, near all your listeners. I mean, it is, every state is a border state. Truer words have not been said.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate your time, Mallory. Thank you so much for joining us. And tell Colton Moore, keep up the good work down there in Georgia.
Well, he's on the Senate floor right now fighting for freedom. So
yeah, it was so hard to book him these days. I mean, my God, what I got to do to get him on here?
It is. The man is exhausted. Pray for him. Pray for him. He's one of our few fighters down here in Georgia. So,
there you go. Well,
awesome.
awesome.
I'll give him your best, and thank you again.
All right, we appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
All right. Dawson, you just seem so skeptical when you hear her talking. What is going through your head there?
Well, she didn't tell us. She didn't prove anything. She told us the same thing that the senator went and said, right? But she was downstairs for the whole thing, so. I
mean, in many regards, it's like it's hard to get to the bottom of these kind of stories because there's this craziness in protecting things. The dichotomy in politics today is out of whack. Well, we were talking about this, when well, I don't know if I should have brought this up on the show, but I'm going to now because
That's okay.
we were talking about somebody you know. Okay, we'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
Didn't really like Trump after Jan 6. And I go, yeah, because they probably only hear one side of the story and they don't hear the other side of the story. Maybe the true side of the story. You know, what do we know is true? Well, I guess you kind of go with the facts as they lead you to, you know. It's tough because there's so much disinformation out there, but certainly the corporate media is engaging in mass disinformation, especially on January 6th. And so it's like, it's hard to get to the bottom of these stories. But something happened at this incident. That's why we wanted to have him on because, you know, you don't just shut off a camera like that, you know, and then get assaulted. I don't know what the heck the drill sergeant's doing, getting involved. Maybe takes it amongst himself in a heroic move to think that this guy's in the wrong.
Right. So were you suggesting that he was maybe there to try to recruit people?
No. So
I see what you were getting at earlier.
imagine
That makes
you're
sense.
going to go to base training. This is me at
Sure.
18, literally. I'm an infantry soldier going to base training at Fort Benning, Georgia. Okay, they call it Fort Moore. I don't want to hate on Fort Moore because General Moore was a great leader, Hal Moore, right? From We Were Soldiers, okay? But Fort Benning was what we called it, all right? You can't have a Confederate general base anymore, okay? We went through that wokeness. But Fort Benning, so I go to Fort Benning, Georgia. You get off a plane, you don't know where the hell you're going. The Army figured this out. You throw a bunch of round hats, round browns they call them, drill sergeants, and they easily guide you to the right place to in-process new recruits. And so that's what the guy's doing there. He's clearly there. He's got drill sergeant hat. And he's got the patch of, I think it's 194th Armor. So that's what he's doing there. I don't know why he's just sitting at that chair, but it has to be by chance. You know, now if it's a guy wearing like khakis and a black shirt and got a little earpiece, I'd be like, who the hell's that guy?
But I'm not convinced that he was entirely uninvolved. You know, he's not sitting outside of that room, I think, not just by pure coincidence.
There is no way. I mean, like, you would have to have, like, a national emergency. I'll put it this way, okay? Because I know people that, some of my soldiers were in basic training when 9/11 happened, okay? And they were put on base defense, okay? So you can imagine, like, in a national emergency, a drill sergeant has an extra duty of something like that. This is not a national emergency. There's no way they're telling a drill sergeant to go help out some migrant influence. That's not their job. Their job is purely training new recruits. So it just seems to me that just they happen to be there at the same time. I like this comment here. Thought on FICE proposed legislation. We're going to get right into that story, by the way. Make sure you guys add your comments here on Rumble, which we had a nice meeting with the other day. Bad Hat Harry, good to see you. Sandhill, he knows what I'm talking about.
And I like,
so Bad Hat, were you on Sandhill? 1992? You were there before I was. Sandhill is a place the infantry was in Fort Benning, Georgia.
Yeah, and I'm seeing Tucker in the comments here too saying dairy farmers love the cheap labor too. They rob them of their hours from their paychecks. Heard multiple stories from friends on that, and so I think that's obviously going on because what's what can they do in response? An illegal immigrant who has their wages taken from them. I mean, you have no right to even be in the country, so you don't have any kind of claim to try to
Right.
unclaimed wages. So it's one of those things that all it's going to do is, it puts American workers in an unfair place because you can't compete with slave labor. And it was, hearing what Mallory was saying about how there's all of these different homes and facilities where these illegals are being taken to work off the debt that they have, and they're being treated as if they're slaves, and it's being hidden because it's being done in more rural areas. So this kind of stuff is going on, and we can't be an open border country. It's only a matter of time before we're going to have very, very serious repercussions for these.
Well, I think the point she's making, and this is a great point, the reason you can't have this loose open border policy is all the humanitarian issues with it. There are children dying in the Rio Grande. I think it's daily, but it's regular because they're being smuggled by coyotes across the border in very risky, dangerous scenarios. And they, if the waters rise up or they get washed down, those kids die. And by the way, apparently, and I've heard this from good sources, there are people, there are coyotes that actually purposely do this to distract resources, border security, to go rescue those kids so they could smuggle drugs across the border.
And we got a Rumble rant here from Love Minnesota. Says, thank you for the excellent reporting, guys. Well, thank you, Love Minnesota. We appreciate the Rumble rant there.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Love Minnesota. So lovely of Love Minnesota to do that.
That's right.
Let me go over just a little bit. So I am positive that the border crisis is happening. I don't have any qualms with what's going on. It's true. We can just watch it. When it comes to me,
Well, we're making progress now.
you can
just
go back
kidding,
to my
Dawson.
shows before, and I've never disagreed that things are happening when it comes to that. Issue is when news stories come out like this and they aren't called out, I think that that's dangerous. I don't think that that's a good thing necessarily, because we should be skeptical of just about every news source that comes out.
Right, but yeah, I think we were.
Yep, we were. I don't think that anything illegal was happening
Well,
in
that's
this
second for
most
thought.
recent one.
Yep, we got T-Wall for Life saying, I second that. I imagine that
Thank you.
Love Minnesota and T-Wall for Life are talking about Jake and I's reporting, not Dawson.
Not Dawson. Fake news,
But
Dawson.
yeah,
Fake
thank you,
news.
T-Wall for Life. We appreciate the Rumble rant from you as well.
Sorry, the truth hurts sometimes.
Perfectly timed interruption of Dawson's diatribe
Yeah, no
there.
kidding.
Go ahead, Dawson. What do you got to say? You're pissing off the audience, Dawson. They're leaving us.
So
I know you're saying it's fake. I mean, explain why.
Well, are you saying it's fake, or are you saying it
I'm
needs
saying
to be?
I'm saying that nothing illegal happened in this specific last report that
Transferring
came out.
illegal immigrants is not illegal?
We don't know if they were illegal.
Well, that's the truth, but I think we have a story here. I'd love to see if we can get to the bottom of it.
I'd like
Unfortunately,
to-
as she said, we don't know where the story's going to go.
Well, no, we can't know that.
Well, hey, hold on. So what's interesting, Dawson, and I'm just having fun with this, Dawson. I love it, okay? Because this show would be boring if we just all thought alike, right? Right? I mean, that's why if we just all wanted to think alike, we'd have Brad Ganser here. That would be no fun. Sorry, I saw him in the comment section. I had to have some fun with him. You questioned that story on the terrorist that was caught in Minnesota.
Yep.
And rightfully so, okay? Because the evidence was a leaked memo to Daily Caller's Jenny Terror.
Yep.
And then, unfortunately, we just had too much on our plate. Oh, my God, Bad Head Harry. Okay,
Yep.
go ahead.
Bad Hat Harry at $20. I guess he's paying for a Dawson rant. So
Oh, my God.
there we go.
All right, there you go.
All right,
Dawson's
appreciate
got a
Bad Hat
fan.
Harry.
What are you, a gamer, Bad Hat Harry? Oh, well, does that shut me up then? Does he get to just talk now?
I think that's
He
what it
paid
does.
for your rant. Go ahead, Dawson. The floor is yours.
Thank you. So at the end of the day, the kind of reporting that they're doing is good. But if a story comes out and it is fake, that's way more damaging to the actual what's going on, right? We want to protect our borders. And if a fake story comes out and then someone else, some other like investigative journalist, whatever, comes out and says that's not true, and they're a Democrat or something, that's going to make them look way better than if a Republican if a new news source comes out and says this is wrong. Think
Yes,
about
and
how
I
good
agree
that
with what you're
looks.
saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
But you can't look at what we do as always the final product.
Yeah.
We're navigating. We're trying to figure this stuff out, right? We're going with the story where it's leading us. And in this case, we don't have the end of the story.
No.
We don't have the end of the story on a lot of stuff. But we got to, what they don't want us to do, they being the corporate media, the elites and all that stuff, they don't want us even talking and asking questions. I went through COVID. I saw the censorship. I saw what they did. And I refused to be quiet and silent on it. They don't even want us talking about this shit. Okay? And that's how we find out that there are problems with vaccines. That's how we find out that masks don't work. That's how we find out that lockdowns don't work. That's how we find out that COVID leaked from a lab in Wuhan. Okay? So we have to do this kind of stuff. But you're right. There is a problem. There could be disinformation on our side. Trust me. There are people on our side that get things wrong. Actually, I don't know what our side means here. We'll just say anything right of craziness these days.
That's a really solid point. I am not for illegal immigration. I think that legal immigration is the way to go. That's goated with the sauce for sure.
I'm a big fan of very open legal immigration. You can't have large immigration to voting rights. Can't have that. Changes the outcome of elections too quickly. That's not good. But people that want to come here and work and contribute, I think absolutely we should have more liberalized policies.
That's what America is, right?
But that's the issue she was alluding to is when you don't, when you got to secure the border, and when you don't secure the border, the humanitarian issues that arise. You're getting trafficked human beings. Let's say she's wrong about the 85,000 kids. Okay, let's say she's wrong about it. I do remember this. I mean, she and I must be the same age. It was milk cartons. You guys know about these? They used to put kids on back of milk cartons. They still do milk cartons at school. They used to have these trays coming out there. I don't know why the kids ever got white milk. I was like, guys, you know there's chocolate milk, right? Get the chocolate milk.
There was whole milk right there. That's the good stuff.
Yeah, but not next to chocolate milk. I mean, good God, Kim's chocolate milk. Give me that all day long. Oh man, God, I could go for one of those little cartons. All right, I'm way off track here. So anyhow, let's say she's wrong on the 85,000 kids. What if it's 10? What if because the borders are open, 10? Can you at least agree that it's at least 10 kids?
Of course.
Right?
I mean, it's probably 10, at least 10 a day.
10 a day. Kids are being smuggled across the border into sex trafficking.
I mean,
because of this border policy.
yeah, I'm not arguing against any of that.
And then here's the other thing, Dawson. It's because of this migrant flow, and this is probably why the cartels are so involved in this, right? They're just getting the fentanyl into this country and killing so many more Americans, right?
Yeah.
So this is such a massive problem, the humanitarian issue. Now, not solving these problems, okay? Not solving these problems at all. So what's going on in Minnesota? Pull up our article. Minnesota become a sanctuary state. The bozos behind this, Sandra Feist.
Mm-hmm.
God, have you ever heard her talk, Jesse?
Yeah, she's nuts.
She's just like one of these kind of people, and I always raise my voice like this, and I just talk with this lisp. What are you so funny, Dawson?
No, it's at when I have to control this thing, my arm's up the whole time, so I have to shake it out.
I thought he was like, oh, well, now you're making fun of my people?
What, Somalians?
No. Sandra Feist is the one on the left.
Oh, I don't know who that is.
Well, she's the one that talks like this. I mean, like, literally, you just know that she and I'd have nothing. We'd get along on nothing, just the way she talks. Sorry, I'm really judging the book by the cover. She's got purple hair in that, too. I mean, come on. What purple hair person votes the way I vote, right? All right, anyhow, and that's Omar Fattah, the senator he's your favorite guy. You even follow him on the updates, don't you, in the legislature?
I get his emails. That's it's like I get this email. It's like, oh great, we're gonna have open borders. We're not gonna follow any laws here in Minnesota. It's unbelievable. These Democrats. Honestly, I almost think these Democrats are going to destroy this state, and all it's doing is winning people over to our side, to reasonableness. Because when people see what's going on and I think that Mallory was right when she said that every state is now a border state. Because if you look back 4, 5, 6 years ago, the immigration issue is not the issue that it was today, and so it's waking a lot of people up, and it is a problem for everywhere around the country.
I see Napkin 8 says she's my rep and I can't stand her.
Yeah.
Does she identify as a woman? Do we know?
Who knows?
I don't know. Omar Fattah and Sandra Feist are teaming up on making Minnesota a sanctuary state. Now, they just did a press conference today. We could have brought you the highlights from their press conference. It is what it is. Go to actionforliberty.com, read this article. But the thing in their legislation, this is what really caught our eye. In the legislation, scroll down there, Dawson, for me, if you will. They actually show that, or they actually give, this is their signing days. So they're signing the jackets for the bills. By the way, they've milked multiple days. This goes back to January, was that 29th up there? They're milking multiple days of promotion of this bill. So this is not like some just small little push out there. They're making a big deal about this. The Whiskey Tango Foxtrot says, is she or a they? I don't know. Whiskey Tango Foxtrot, use your connections to figure that out. T-Wall says, looks like the mad comic guy.
Yeah.
All right, so scroll down there, Dawson. The language of the bill we put in this article, but if you go down to the bottom, they actually have a section that says it's the violation sections, okay? And this says the Attorney General's office. Now remember, if you're not watching from Minnesota, our Attorney General is Antifa-loving Keith Ellison. So this bill gives that asshole powers, okay? Attorney General Keith Ellison shall establish a system for the public and state and local employees to report alleged violations of this section and section 629, At minimum, the system shall include a telephone hotline, electronic complaint portal, and a written complaint process accessible in multiple languages. in multiple languages and advertised to communities most likely to be affected by immigration enforcement and deportation activities. So in other words, just so you guys know, an illegal alien who does not belong in Minnesota can use a hotline and tell Keith Ellison to investigate a law enforcement officer doing their job. There you go. That's what they want here in Minnesota. And it's a growing problem, obviously, because there's more and more of them nowadays.
Right. And so this bill, it would prevent state and local officials from enforcing federal immigration law, and this bill would also prohibit state officials from questioning someone about their immigration status, which makes me wonder, if you can't question someone on their immigration status, am I allowed to, let's say I'm a poll watcher, let's say I'm a poll worker, and I have suspicion to think that someone is an illegal immigrant. Am I not able to question them and ask them if they were not born in this country? This kind of sanctuary state bullshit is going to allow for our elections to be stolen as if they weren't already in Minnesota, but we're letting the illegals come into our state. And this kind of stuff, I hope that there's some Democrats out there who are able to at least have some common sense, because if we were to adopt a law like this because of radical people like Omar Fateh, and Omar Fateh, you know, this guy, he was a part of the Feeding Our Future scam. There's videos of him attached to it. He was a part of the socialist takeover of Uber. So Omar Fateh, he is as radical as it gets on every single issue. And for him to be pushing something like this is ultimately not only going to destroy our state in so many ways, but it's going to destroy our elections.
I didn't even think of that, Jesse, and that is a great point. I'm just doing a quick check on this bill. You guys can go to it. It is the bill. Damn it. I thought the best angle on this was Keith Ellison. That's the best angle right there. Okay, so let's go to this. And this bill is short, guys. You know, we read bills that are, well, we don't read these bills, and neither do the legislators. Hundreds and sometimes over 1,000 pages long, right? This one is a page. Okay. So prohibited activities, and it says real clearly, a government agent shall not, for immigration enforcement purposes, stop, question, investigate, detain, detect, report, or arrest a person. So I'd say question or investigate are the two key words there. You cannot question or investigate someone, and it's not in here specified that there's an exemption for voting.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
So how can somebody, an election judge, which in this regard would be an election, would be a government official. Let me see. What was the language again here? This is subdivision 2 prohibited acts. A government agent. I think you would say that a election judge would be a government agent. I think that would apply here.
Why not? Right.
You would. I would read it that way. You cannot question someone's status when they show up to vote.
Yep.
And by the way, you can't tell,
especially when they have a driver's license.
A driver's license has no stigma. We are the dumbest country in the end of the day when we allow this stuff to happen. It is so absolutely stupid. All right. I got to move on. I think this is going to just make my head blow off.
Yeah.
Well, no. Let's go to this story. CBS now has to actually report that there's a problem on the border. So 60 Minutes does an interesting segment on Chinese migrants coming across the U.S.-Mexican border. And you can go watch it yourself. What I found most interesting is this gentleman who was actually an immigrant himself, came through the legal process, I think somewhere in Europe. He owns this land. We often forget this. We think, oh, they're coming across the border like it's all just federal government land. It's not. A lot of times it's private ownership. So you also have trespassing laws that are happening. You're literally hurting people's or tarnishing people's private property rights because they're allowed to they're allowing trespassing on people's land. So this guy owns some land in Southern California, and he actually has migrants taking down his trees. Go ahead.
Yep, we got a Rumble rant here from Base, Minnesota. The goal is to destroy white European countries. Also, props to Javier Milei for visiting the Wailing Wall and crying like a good little goy. Oh, I don't know anything about that. And goy, what does goy mean again? Goy is like a it's like a pejorative term for that Jews call non-Jews, right?
Yeah, but like someone that's sympathetic to Jewish people. Like Shabbos Goy would be like a really good non-Jew, right? Gentile, a very good Gentile. Isn't that correct? Don't I have that right?
No.
Come on, you're a Jewish expert.
Yes, I am. A goy is just a non-Jew. There's no.
What is a Shabbos Goy?
Shabbos goy is your non-Jewish friend who will turn on the light for you, so that you don't have to. Yeah. I as far as I know, there's
according
no,
to Wikipedia, it says Goy. So a Goy is a non-Jew who's employed by Jews to perform certain types of work. That Jewish. Okay.
It is used that some.
I thought it is usually meant like in a endearing way. Shabbos Goy.
Yeah. I loved my Shabbos goy back when I was a kid. Dayton.
Oh, it literally says that a non-Jew employed by Orthodox Jews to perform services such as turning on lights on and off, which are forbidden to Jews on the Sabbath.
It's a big deal. If someone asks you to be a Shabbos goy, you should say yes, because it is the chance of a lifetime.
Don't think so. No, I don't know. I think I actually learned about that from I was watching Ari Shafir's comedy special.
Yes,
so
Jew.
That's how I know it.
That was a good one.
That was pretty good.
Oh no, I remember John Gilmore. God, is John still around? He has a Twitter handle, Shabbos Goy. That guy tweeted like 250,000 times before even Elon Musk took over. I was so off of I've had a Twitter account since probably 2012 or something like that, and I almost never tweeted. Like I gave up on Twitter a long time ago, and then Elon bought it, and I'm like, all right, well, free speech now exists. Where was I going with the story? I got off track. What's Whiskey Tango Fox?
What is Shabbos goy spelled like that?
Jake,
What?
would you
He
be my
doesn't know what he's
Shabbos
talking
goy?
He doesn't know it.
But that is what is Shabbos? Is he misspelling something? Is that what it is?
He doesn't know it. He or she. I don't know. It could be a she.
Thank God Jesus died, so we don't have to do all that crap. Yeah, dude. I wish that I could
Oh
eat
man,
bacon.
let's get into the Holy Wars now. Let's go to this story here. Just to throw this in Dawson's face, because Dawson doesn't believe anything he sees from here. Pull up the ICE director confirms that the terrorist is caught in Minnesota. We alluded to this when we were on the line with Mallory. So Dawson's like, I don't know if this is true, And by the way, I'm just giving you shit. I agree. We should have validated ourselves. Fox News beat us to it. Oh no, yeah.
Fox?
No, I'm
Didn't
sorry.
Fox
This
just
was
pick it
actually
up?
Daily Caller.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, this is a press conference with what's his name? Acting director. What does it say on here? I don't know this gentleman's name. I can't see from that screen. I should be looking at my own screen here.
Director Patrick I don't know how to say that.
Patrick
Lechlitner? Lechlitner?
Lechlitner. Yeah, Lechlitner. Okay. You think he's a Shabbos Goy?
I hope so. Sounds German though.
So he's doing a press conference. He's talking about all these raids, and I think it's someone from the Daily Caller asked him point blank about terrorists. Let's go ahead and play this video down there. This is also on actionforliberty.com. You guys can watch this. And we get it on our Rumble channel.
Thank you. We recently reported that ERO had arrested an Al-Shabaab member in Minnesota. I'm wondering, with that case, he was deemed a mismatch by Border Patrol and released into the interior of the country in March, but it took almost a year to actually nab him. How many other terrorists have been apprehended in the interior after coming through the border?
Well, I can say that for this individual, within 48 hours, of ICE becoming aware of his status on the watch list, within 48 hours he was apprehended. And I want to commend our personnel, because as soon as we became aware of that, within 48 hours he was apprehended, and he's currently in ICE custody. So
Yeah.
I think that's an incredible result.
Thanks for letting us
Just
know
a
about
testament
this,
to
by the
how,
way. This
professional-
guy's going roaming around freely in America. They capture the guy, and it's a leaked memo to the Daily Caller that we even find out this happened. You think we'd probably should know about a terrorist roaming freely in Minnesota, in Minneapolis, like nearby. K-Wall for life. Go ahead and read K-Wall's comment there.
Yep, K-Wall for Life says the recent arson of Minnesota conservative organizations is a dangerous precedent.
Now, I don't know. I doubt that's attached to it. I don't even know the story behind this. If, it's being investigated, so it looks damn fishy. But yeah, apparently a group of conservative organizations in one building have looks like firebombing right outside their office. Actually penetrates one of the offices. Which doesn't that make us at high risk here at Action for Liberty? I think we push the envelope pretty much more than any of these guys, right? So, by the way, no law enforcement's reached out to us. So who knows if this is a big risk? Who knows if it's connected? I don't know if it's connected. I don't even look at it just so much as targeting like a conservative political organizations. Just think about your family. Just say, let's imagine this is Al-Shabaab terrorist. Maybe his target is something, in the Somali community, but it happens on 94 and it causes damage or collateral damage, right? Maybe it's an explosion. Maybe it's something done on the freeway and somebody else dies. Like, that's serious stuff. We should know about it. And by the way, the guy shouldn't have been here because he came across the border illegally. By the way, March of 2023 too. So he's been here for like 10 months.
Yeah.
Crazy
and there was another comment I wanted to answer here. Instant Zipper Ball IF. They ask, what is the bill number? I like to read them.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm unable to find the bill number right now. And actually, I was just looking on the Minnesota Legislature website to see if I could find it by just looking by author and seeing if I could find it under Fateh. Maybe it just hasn't been updated yet because he said it was introduced today. But it is called the North Star Act. So if you want to look it up for yourself, you can find all of the information and text about it. They even have their own website, northstaract.org. That's the way to look into this bill if you want to learn more yourself about it.
Well, I wholeheartily disagree with you there, Jesse.
Yeah.
Because we have it linked on actionforliberty.com.
Oh, okay.
And I'm just sending it to you.
Yeah.
Das, I'm sending it to you right now so you could post it in the show notes. Or I'm sorry, not in the show notes, in the comment section. But the bill number is HF 2860. And I think the reason you're not seeing it...
I was looking in the Senate side.
Well, no, it's SF 2724. I think the reason you're not seeing it is because the session hasn't started. So it hasn't officially been voted and introduced. They just basically gavel in introductions. Now, right now, HF 2860 has 18 authors on it. So it's not like this is just one person. The Senate file, Omar Fattah's Senate file, has 2. Okay, there, and Dawson put it in the show notes. Also, actionforliberty.com, we got a hyperlink down there, so you can find it right there. Don't go give any web traffic to their North Star, whatever it is called. Okay, let's move on here. Is Nikki ready to drop out yet?
Unfortunately not, no, but and she's having a tough time handling this loss that she just lost to none of the above. People prefer none of the above. So 2/3 of the Republican primary voters prefer to have nobody instead of Nikki Haley. So here's an interesting interview where she actually claims that Trump rigged the primary, even though she knew damn well that she wasn't going to be able to win any delegate votes by participating in this primary. So let's go ahead and check out her pathetic response.
I asked her about it today in an exclusive one-on-one. Does that situation in Nevada hurt a little bit?
No, I mean, Nevada, it's such a scam. They were supposed to have a primary. Trump rigged it so that the GOP chairman, who's been indicted, would go and create a caucus. We knew months ago that we weren't going to spend a day or a dollar in Nevada because it wasn't worth it. And so we didn't even count Nevada. That wasn't anything we were looking at. We knew that was rigged from the start. Our focus is on South Carolina, Michigan, Super Tuesday. So if you look what we did in Iowa and you look what we did in New Hampshire, we're continuing to grow. That's what matters, I think, more than anything else. But look at what happened this week. Here you have Republicans lost a major vote on the border. Republicans lost a major vote on Israel. Donald Trump was found that he will not have immunity in all of these court cases coming up. The RNC chair is fired. All of this chaos is happening around us, and Donald Trump's fingerprints are on every bit of it.
South Carolina right now is showing Trump with a 31-point, according to Real Clear Politics average, 31-point advantage on her. She's waiting for South Carolina.
Right, where she's going to lose by, like you said, 20, 30 points. And, what kind of audacity does she have to where she thinks that she can say, that these Nevada primary voters don't matter? And, she's trying to claim that it's rigged, that it's all Trump's fault. No. The Republican Party was against holding a primary, and it was a Democrat governor before in Nevada who was the one who instituted the primaries. They went to court over it because they said, we want to continue to hold our caucus because it's better for citizen engagement than just a normal primary is. What the courts held was that the Republican Party was, they did have to hold a primary, but they were not forced to have it be binding, and they could hold a caucus. This was something understood by every single candidate. The Nevada Republican Party explained to the candidates beforehand that if you participate in the primary, it's non-binding, you can't win any delegates, and then you can't participate in the caucus. Nikki Haley, what did she want? She wanted that headline, Nikki Haley wins Nevada primary. Unfortunately, she lost very badly to none of the above. People would rather have nobody as president than Nikki Haley. It shows how pathetic she is, and her campaign is it's a total disaster. For her to have to claim that Trump rigged an election, I mean, give me a break. She's grasping at straws here. This is all that she has, and it's the only comeback that she can have is by trying to lie and misguide the people into thinking that this was some sort of corrupt process. No, she just lost.
What do you got, Dustin?
Is her, so she's saying that it's rigged by Trump. Is that her trying to twist the people who came and voted none of the above who are Trump supporters?
No, she's trying to argue that Trump got the Republican Party to hold the caucus, which obviously it was up to the Republican Party leadership of Nevada that wanted to hold the caucus instead. So her point is trying to say that because those votes weren't counted, but she understood that all along the way. She knew that the primary wasn't going to get her any delegate votes. She understood that. She has to have this historical revisionism to try to sell her case at this point. And it's pathetic, but she's so irrelevant that once we're done with Super Tuesday, I think she's going to be out of here. And I think that's the end of the road.
There's no poll that shows her doing well. She's clearly got to play that there's a black swan event at this point. All right, let's go to this Eli Crane, and then I want to go into Joe Rogan in this show. You guys have got to stick around for Joe Rogan. If you haven't liked this episode, make sure you like it on whatever platform you're watching on. If you haven't gone to Rumble, please go to Rumble. We had a nice conversation with them the other day, and also locals, which is something we're going to be getting involved in. So much to come on the front of
right. And also Nevada's caucus is tonight, so we're going to see what the results are going to be for Nevada. It's only Trump, and I see Brad Ganser
straw poll, right?
Right, and Brad Ganser in the comments says, "quote none of the above, MAGA Jesse or Ryan Binkley." I choose MAGA Jesse, and guess what? We may have Ryan Binkley lined up for an interview down the line.
What did you call him? Yeah, he said he wants to do the show now. He
said he's back in. So you know what? We'll see how he does in Nevada. Maybe we'll have an interesting story to talk to him about.
What does Binkley have to perform tonight in order for him to get invited?
He needs he needs 3.85%.
3.85%
to get a delegate for the national convention.
So is that the barrier? He needs 3.85% to be on our show.
That's what he needs to at least be
we'll have like
relevant
the rules
to
of
the national convention.
Should we have the rules? Well, let's hear from you guys at home. Ryan Binkley, if he wants to come on the Truth Herd show, what does he need to get in Nevada's caucus? Because we're such a big deal around here. Like, you got to get access to this show.
Yep.
You heard it here, bitch Binkley.
That's right.
Oh my God!
You want the video?
You know what would be good entertainment is have Nikki Haley on her show.
Yeah, we should.
She doesn't do podcasts though. I mean, she went on the Breakfast Club because it's a liberal show that was gave her a softball interview. Yeah. But she doesn't. She would never go on a tough interview or anything like that. She only deals with the corporate press because those are her kind of people.
Yes, they are. All right. Have you guys seen this video of Eli Crane? Now, this is one of our guys we've been tracking a little bit since. Since January last year, freshman, Navy SEAL, Arizona. I can't remember which district in Arizona. What stood out about Eli Crane is he was not only the part of the original, 20 that were against McCarthy in January 2023, but he was the remaining 6. Like when everyone else bailed, he never caved. This guy is impressive as hell. Listen to how he dresses down reporters. They're trying on Capitol Hill to pass a resolution to say that Donald Trump did not commit an insurrection, try to put this thing to rest. So this was a Republican effort. This is what Eli Crane says to the media. This is great if you haven't seen this.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for coming.
Uh-oh. Don't ruin it.
It's an honor
By the
to
way,
be here. Thank you,
Irvin
Matt.
Joan, thank you for sending this to me. They brought this to my attention.
You gotta get them to give you a different link.
No,
And Mr.
that's my link.
Stefanik for leading on this. You know what I love about this? Watching where President Trump is at in the polls. I love it because it shows the American people don't trust you guys. And they shouldn't, because you guys are full of it and everybody knows it. There's a few honest journalists in this town, but they're very few and far between. You know how I know it wasn't an insurrection? Because he hasn't been charged with insurrection. And we can all see by the lawfare how he's facing up over 700 years in jail right now, how they've tried to destroy this man, destroy his businesses, that if they felt they had an inkling of a chance of convicting President Trump of jaywalking or insurrection, they would absolutely charge him. You know how else I know it's not an insurrection? Because this is the first insurrection in the history of the world where the people that were a part of it were unarmed. Pretty hard to do if you walk around and see how many individuals are carrying firearms. All right. Last thing I want to say about how I know it's not an insurrection is because I actually listened to the words of the president. If you're trying to stoke an insurrection, you don't tell the people listening, hey, I want you to go over there peacefully and patriotically. All right? This is not an insurrection. What it is a party that's scared to death of this man because he's America first, and he's shown time and time again he's willing to bust up the swamp, and he continues to beat you like a drum. That's what this is really about. And for all you journalists out there, you know, that are pretty cowardly, some in this room right now, you don't have the balls to write the truth. And even if you did, your publishers wouldn't publish it because you're a part of a propaganda outlet, probably one of the biggest in the history of the world. If you had any courage, I want you to ask some questions about that day, January 6th, that we keep talking about. Why has the pipe bomber not been caught yet? Huh? Why has the pipe bomber not been caught? The one individual that could have committed multiple mass casualties has not been caught yet. Go follow some of Beatty's reporting over at Revolver News. He's got some evidence for you guys. What's going on up here with January 6th is there's a pretty big cover-up actually going on up here in Capitol Hill about some of the involvement of our government, and it's quite unsavory. And I want to acknowledge Rep. Massey's work on this lately and others who have been trying to get to the bottom of it. But here's some other questions for you journalists to ask. Why did it take so long for Ray Epps to be charged? Go watch videos of Ray Epps on that day and how he was stoking the entire thing and how long it took him to be charged. And yet there were so many people that were brought into the D.C. jail, and they're still there to this day. So if you guys want to ask some questions, those are some questions. But the bottom line is we all know President Trump did not commit insurrection, and he's probably going to be the president of the United States once again. And so I'm happy to be a part of this resolution. I'm happy to support the president, and I'm happy to call out all you little cowardly liars in the press.
That's good. That's right.
That was awesome. Eli Crane for VP. You know,
Yeah, I know, love
he
it,
would be
man.
awesome. And you know, it's so nice that we got people in the House like that are actually willing to stand up and fight. It's unfortunate that the Republicans have been so pathetic about everything. You know, with the failure to impeach Mayorkas, that was a shame. And all that made me think was, man, I wish George Santos was there, because George Santos would have been the deciding vote. Man, I wish Kevin McCarthy wouldn't have quit, because that would have been the vote right there. Right. And it's just unfortunate that the Republicans are their own worst enemies in most cases. And, I was thinking about it. We could even blame our very own Pete Stauber for the failing of the Mayorkas impeachment, because he was one of the people who got rid of George Santos. If it wasn't for Pete Stauber, we would have been in a situation where Mayorkas would have been impeached by the House already. But Stauber was the one who felt like he had to limit our own numbers. It shows how the establishment doesn't actually care about getting anything done. They're just concerned with protecting their own power.
Well, Jesse, they're always preaching unity. Why aren't they preaching unity right now? I don't understand.
Right.
Unity on
on Trump.
Not impeaching Mayorkas. I was going to say not impeaching
Yeah,
Mayorkas.
right. Mm-hmm.
Where's the unity calls on there, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Isn't it interesting? Freaking cowards.
Yeah.
Okay, this segment I'm very excited to bring to you, okay? So I've been a Joe Rogan fan for probably a decade. I don't know. Let's see. I found out about podcasting because of Joe Rogan, okay? There's this Stephen Ranella, Meat Eater. He tweeted out or something like this. This had been almost a decade ago, that he was going on the Joe Rogan experience. I'm like, Joe Rogan from the UFC? You know, I was like, what's this? That's how I found out about podcasting. So I've been following Joe Rogan for a long time now. Joe does not come from the right, okay? Joe's a common sense guy. I'm not saying he's some crazy leftist, but he does not come from the right. He had Bernie Sanders on in 2020. He like quasi-endorsed him. I wouldn't say he endorsed him, but he kind of quasi-endorsed him.
Yeah, and he voted for him.
Did he actually say he voted for him?
Oh,
No,
yeah.
No.
Yeah,
he voted for the Libertarian candidate.
No. I'm saying in the primary. He voted for Bernie in
did
the
he vote in the
primary.
primary?
Yeah, he said that himself.
Gotcha. All right, so Joe's got this. Joe, I've kind of watched develop, you know, his political views and where he is as a person, you know, over these 10 years, okay, whatever it's been. And why this is so important, if you're not following Joe Rogan, I mean, I'm like straight in his demographic, okay, of people that tune into Joe Rogan, okay? I get it. But this is why it's important to all you, even if you don't listen to Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan is penning right now a contract with, I was going to say Rumble, Spotify, for $250 million. What is it, like a 5-year contract or something like that? Mm-hmm. Like, he is the biggest guy in media. His audiences are 20 times what CNN is getting, okay? Joe Rogan is massive. He's the biggest interviewer on the planet. 10 million plus downloads per episode. So is Aaron Rodgers on? I get a notification about this yesterday. I'm like, yes. I want to hear what Aaron Rodgers has to say. Because to me, as a lifelong Bears fan, Aaron Rodgers has been a thorn in my side, but honest to God, I could put all that off to the side for how this guy took a courageous stance during COVID, okay? Mm-hmm. So they get talking, and they go over all the issues, and I'm like, I got to put these pieces together and bring it on the show and play this. You're going to see Joe Rogan so red-pilled, it gives me nothing but hope for the future that the biggest guy in media is saying the things that guys like us say all the time. That he is, I mean, he's interviewed everybody. He interviews everyone. He talks to everybody. And he's now drawing these same kind of conclusions. First one, and this might be the most important one, shortest clip, but I always say banking's the biggest problem, creating money out of thin air. You know what you can't do that with, to a degree, with the gold standard. Joe Rogan agrees with this. Let's go. Let's play this audio clip. Joe Rogan advocating for a gold standard.
Another thing would be get back on the gold standard. That would be a great move, too, but that's too late.
But JFK was trying to do that.
Yeah.
Silver standard.
Yeah. Guess what they did?
I cut off. Guess what they did to him? Now, maybe that's what's going to happen if we ever got back on the gold standard, the people advocating for it. Yeah, they JFK you. But he's absolutely right. You know, this is, I don't hear anyone in the mainstream media. Do I have this wrong here? You're certainly not hearing this at MSNBC or CNBC, Jesse. No one's calling for getting on the gold standard, a huge solution to our monetary issues and saving our damn country. So let's go further than that. If that wasn't already good enough, that Joe's on board with the gold standard, here he is. And this is interesting because this is an evolution, Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan, I think 5 years ago, was on board with the climate change narrative. Here he is calling out climate change for being nothing but population control. Listen to this.
What was it, in Paris? They had some sort of
climate accord.
Yeah, but it wasn't taking effect, or there was different rules for other countries,
Yeah.
but we had to adhere to something that nobody else was adhering to.
It's control.
But that's what we've been doing the last. If you look at, I saw some something on X about like what they were telling us in the '60s and the '70s and the '80s. The world was always going to end based on something, and now it's this climate change. We got to change the way we live in order for us to keep going. It's like they've been doing this for the last 5 decades.
They would like to control the food system, and there's a tremendous amount of money in controlling the food system. And if they could get you to only buy their food, and they can convince you that their food is somehow or another emits less carbon and come up with some fucking Hollywood math that shows you that this is the only way to do it and this is the way out of this.
Is that not hope right there, Jesse? Is that not hope? He's
Yeah,
talking that way?
He's not all the way there on the issue, but, it's a good start. And,
But
he's
the
starting
fact
to
he
see through it.
understands what the overall movement is about, right? Even if he might, I was going to say believe in some of the science. What is the science? The science is that we have an effect on the climate. How much of an effect we have, no one could tell. What is the 2040 measure, carbon-free 2040 in Minnesota? What politician can tell you how much of an impact that will make? They can't answer that question. There's no science behind that.
Mm-hmm.
But he understands exactly what they're doing, right?
Yep.
And so is Aaron Rodgers. By the way, all these things they're agreeing on. I love it. One of the best players ever in the NFL. I'd argue, it's hard to say that Tom Brady's not the GOAT, but just as a pure quarterback talent, Rodgers has got to be right there with them. I think he's got the best touchdown to interception ratio. I mean, Mahomes hasn't played as long. Maybe Mahomes is up there. Mahomes just hasn't played as long. Rodgers is like 40 years old now.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Joe Rogan calling what's going on with Trump a banana republic. Let's listen to this.
In a lot of ways, to what they did during the pandemic, where the more they attack him, the more people are like, what the fuck is true?
Yeah.
Because I don't believe you guys anymore. And when you're going after him, I kind of think that you're just doing this because you don't want him to win. And that's banana republic shit. When you're prosecuting your political opponents, specifically because you don't want your political opponents to be able to make it to the vote, that's banana republic shit. That's
what we're living in.
Yeah.
What does Brad Ganser say in there? Go read his comment. If Rogan's sobered up.
Yeah, if Rogan sobered up, he would be dangerous.
What are you saying, Brad? He's sober? No, he does a lot of podcasts with comics. They have a couple drinks. What's wrong with having a couple drinks every once in a while? We do that on our show.
Does he mean by sobering up getting red-pilled?
Why do you have Mallory up back on the screen?
Whoops. Does he mean by getting sobered up getting red-pilled? Is that what Brad Ganser is referring to?
No, I'm sure he's talking about the drugs and the alcohol and everything.
Oh yeah, well he does. He is a very big advocate for smoking pot, but
gotcha.
Yeah,
and the psychedelics.
Actually, Rogan kind of I'm pro legalization, but I always had the stigma against potheads, and then you see a high functioning guy like Rogan who's a pot user. I'm just like, oh yeah, he's talking about drugs. He does a lot of drugs.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, Tucker says founding fathers love to drink. Exactly, they love to drink, Brad. Jefferson had his own distillery. So did Thomas Jefferson. Don't you love America, Brad? My God. Next segment. I mean, listen, no one else, this is the reason I'm bringing this up. No one. Joe Rogan has a larger audience than I don't know how many of the main corporate media heads combined, right? Tucker Carlson was the only one close to Rogan, and he was probably half the audience. And they canned Tucker, which I hope after tonight's Putin interview, which is such a smart move by Tucker, because now I'm going to go to Tucker Carlson's network tonight, his website, and watch, right? I'm interested in that. So here you go. Oh, yeah, George Washington grew hemp. That's right, good point. But that's not a drug, right? All right, let's go to here's Joe Rogan on the transition agenda. Joe's always been good on the transgender thing, but here's him actually talking about the agenda and the dangers of it.
Kids are extremely malleable. They're extremely easy to manipulate. They're extremely easy to influence. We've always known this. It's one of the reasons why you don't let children get tattoos. It's one of the reasons why you don't let children join the military. It's one of the reasons why you don't let children have children. It's one of the reasons why we have ages of consent, because we know that they're not young enough, they're not smart enough, they're not old enough to make their own decisions. They can be manipulated. So if they can be manipulated that way, why the fuck would we think they can't be manipulated by this emerging market, which is gender care, this gender-affirming care? Have you ever seen the map of, like, gender care from 2007 versus 2022? Have you ever seen that?
Yeah, I saw it somewhere. Yeah.
Here, I can send it to you, Jamie, so you can take a look at it. But it's fucking bananas. It's a business. My friend, who is a doctor, told me that his friend, who is a plastic surgeon, who moved into gender transition care, he told me the difference between what that person gets paid for an arthroscopic surgery versus what they get paid for a gender transition. I forget what the number was for arthroscopic surgery, but for the gender transition, he gets $70,000 every time he does this. And he goes, and this guy is raking it in.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of evidence on that it's a hugely profitable venture. And my God, like, what a great point. Like, you don't allow a kid to get tattoos. You don't let a kid join the military. Yeah, I think when you're 17, you have to get your parents' permission to join the military because they do enlist people under 18. But you got to have parental.
That's crazy.
What's that?
I said that's wild to think about.
Right. Yes. Yeah. As a guy that served in the military 12 years, I can't imagine.
Can you imagine
signing
a 17-year-old? Oh my God.
I know. Well, I remember having soldiers that were still in high school.
Yeah.
It's kind of
No, I had an uncle join at 17.
Right.
So it's one of those things. Sometimes that's just the it just depends on the person. Sometimes that's just what you want to do, where you want to go, and it's a good opportunity for some. But yeah, I mean, not for me.
Well, in these days, right? That's the problem. I joined before 9/11, and it was a different world. So, minor attracted persons. This is a segment on pedophilia being normalized. Now, we've talked about this. We actually broke a story here in Minnesota, how Democrats actually changed the Minnesota Human Rights Act to allow pedophilia to be a sexual orientation. It sounds like we're crazy talking about it. Here's the biggest guy in media also alluding to the fact that there's a constituency behind this. Listen to this.
Fucking crazy. But the fact that they're letting that, we are one step away from minor attracted persons being something that everybody's cool with. Because that's also on the agenda. And every now and then they sneak that out there. Every now and then you'll see it in universities, see people talking about it. We have this is this one malign group that has no support, minor attracted persons. Yeah.
All right, let's go to the comment section here before I get to the last one.
Let's see. Alley Cat, they ruined the child's life. Brad Ganser says, just spent a week working in Florida, and I can confirm that we can do better in Minnesota. DeSantis is a great governor. I'd agree at this point now that he's out of the presidential race. I don't have a problem with that now. Based MN says, crazy to think that not transitioning a kid is now considered based. 30 years ago is just common sense.
Is that
exactly.
not the perfect comment?
That's the thing.
Yes.
There wasn't even. I mean, how recent was it that these surgeries even came about? It's a pretty recent phenomenon, and so especially with them pushing it onto children now, that's the kind of thing that it was completely unheard of years ago.
10 years ago, you wouldn't even talked about this craziness with kids. I get it, an adult, whatever, and I still don't give a shit. I think William made a good point that as a doctor to do something like that is really unethical. But I just think an adult can make bad choices.
Right.
But kids, so ridiculous. All right, so Rogan, he understands the bug eaters too. Well, the bug eating promoters. I always say the bug eaters. They're not the ones eating the insects.
Yeah.
They're the ones promoting it. They're going to eat just fine. So here is Joe Rogan and Aaron Rodgers on the WEF, the World Economic Forum.
Really quick, before I play this video, I just have to point out, Jake, if you shaved your beard and your head, you would be the same. This would be the same thing.
What do you mean?
You look exactly the same.
I don't look at all like Joe Rogan. What are you talking about?
Look at your background. Look at your set. You blend in when you're in the corner like this. And you have the same headphones and microphone.
Oh, yeah, but you're not looks like Joe.
Oh, no.
Yeah,
put on a gray sweatshirt, though, and you'd be him.
Well, no, I'm a Matthew shooter. I wouldn't wear a green white sweatshirt.
Tell us who's going to be in charge.
The fact that is a place where people go by private jet, so they fly in these jets to tell everybody that they got to stop pumping out carbon.
Yeah, love it. Keep it up, man. But that's the waking up. Is just the hypocrisy is everywhere.
Yeah, it's
you
everywhere.
fucking people who are telling us, cut your carbon footprint, don't grow your own food, eat fucking insects, stop eating meat.
Yeah.
It's like, you're not adhering to any of this shit.
No, of course not. They were serving meat at the WEF.
Yeah.
When people went there. Yeah.
What I wanted to ask you before.
Oh, my God. Oh, I just love it. I love it. First of all, Aaron Rodgers, massive celebrity, massive athlete, to be talking so freely and openly like that. I love it.
Right. I think the biggest problem is Democrats don't want to ever get out of step with whatever it is. When they hear about Klaus Schwab, when they hear about the WEF, I'm talking about the grassroots Democrats. When they hear about that stuff, they just don't believe it because the Democrat sources aren't talking to them about it. They go, oh, conspiracy theory. It's all real. It's all out there.
Yeah.
I mean, Klaus Schwab has said that you'll eat bugs and be happy. You'll own nothing, be happy. And so I think a lot of anybody who just looks at it objectively and says, wait, this is what they're talking about. This is what they're saying. It naturally is going to shift you to the right a little bit. Not even the right, just common sense.
Common sense. That's all it is.
It's one of those things that I think Joe Rogan represents a lot of people who have kind of been a little bit more free-spirited, maybe a little more liberal before, just accepting of people and whatnot that are seeing that with where the Democrats are now, they've lost touch with reality. They've lost touch with where normal people are at. And because of that, the Democrats are going to have a very tough time unless they get all these illegals in here voting.
Yeah, but I don't even just place it on the Democrats. The way I look at it, Jesse, is it's the common sense side here. And
right. It's the Republicans, too. You're right.
It's
because,
exactly the Republicans, too.
Brian Kemp, the Georgia governor. Where was he? He was sitting there at the World Economic Forum having a part of a conference there. So, a lot of these rhinos are just as guilty and they're just as much of a part of the globalist agenda as the Democrats.
And that's like I'm saying, more nowadays, I say my views are just pro people, pro the normal, regular guy. It's, I have a libertarian background, conservative, whatever you want to say. But it's just, I'm for the little guy. I'm against the global elites running this thing. And you have to see that there is some kind of organization of elitists that are trying to run the world. They're trying to control the population. And COVID should have opened everyone's eyes to it. It's amazing people haven't woken up to this. So I'm against that. When you say left versus right, people will go, well, that's a left dictator and that's a right dictator. I go, I can't be on the right if there's a dictator on my side. I am against dictators. So there's no such thing as left versus right to me. I'm dictator freedom, right? Yeah. I'm over here. I'm on the freedom side. And so that's the nice thing is Joe seems to, and this seems to be all new media. That's why I wanted to bring this up. I've seen Joe kind of move towards these views. And I'm not just saying like Joe's the only one. I've seen it for what it's worth a lot more in the last couple of years. But this was just an interesting episode because they were just hitting them like left and right, all the different issues. I didn't even do the one on border security. But the fact that he's opened up his eyes and new media, all the big names in new media are seeing it this way, and the audiences are going that way. And we're part of it. I'd love to be a part of it. We're small, but we're a part of it, And thank you guys for tuning in and watching, and the Rumble rants today and people liking it. And the new audience and the new people coming to the show. That's what we're going to do is we're going to try to tell the truth as we see it. We'll navigate this crazy world. We have your interest in mind. We are pro-freedom, not for these elitists, these globalists. We're not going to be bought and paid for by pharmaceutical companies steering our messaging. Bullshit. We're the ones that got censored and taken off the internet. The reason we're on Rumble is because YouTube kept canceling our show. So that's why I am so damn optimistic about the future right now. I am so damn optimistic because people are abandoning the corporate lying media and they're coming to new media. And the biggest heads in new media, especially Joe Rogan, are talking this way. How is that not hope for our damn future?
Oh, yeah.
America, huh? I love America. Although I still think Texas should secede from the nation. You don't agree with me on that. And I agree. I mean, there goes the whole electoral college right out the window.
Yeah.
All right, Dawson.
In the country.
Yeah, in the country. Dawson, we good with this episode? You good? Do we need to explore? Do we need a deeper dive anywhere?
No, I got all my points across.
Thank you, Warren Wessel, for sponsoring this show. Brad Ganser, I think it's great when you got the guys in the comment section doing the ad reads
doing it for us too.
Call Warren if you're buying or selling home, 612-419-7453. Also want to thank Alpine Cabinetry of East St. Cloud for sponsoring the show. If you want to be a sponsor, reach out to me, Jake at truthhurtsnews.com. I never even thought about doing that. I guess we should always make an appeal for other sponsors too, right? We're capped at like 3, though. I don't think we can do much more than that. If I did too many ad reads, you guys would hate it. And by the way, scrutinized scrutinized sponsors. They better perform. These guys better perform, and they better believe what we believe. You know, none of this bullshit leftist agenda. You know, Bud Light, you're not sponsoring this show unless you pay us $1 million.
Hey, Bud Light's back. Are
you on Bud Light?
I've dropped
Bud
my
Light
arms.
now?
Oh, Bud Light is back. Trump said it. Shane Gillis said it. Dana White. You know, what is there to be mad at anymore?
It's still piss water. No one likes it. Doesn't taste good. That's what.
That doesn't matter. We're back, baby.
Yeah, but here's the problem.
The king of beers is back.
No. Bullshit. PBR's never sold us out. Bud Light, we're still having it. Bud Light and I, we have a really tarnished relationship. Yeah, see, Tucker agrees. Bud Light is still trash.
Well, I don't like Bud Light. I like Budweiser, you know. But,
yeah, that hurt you. You were a Budweiser guy.
You know, but that's the thing. It's back. The king of beers is back. The queen has been replaced, you know. we took out their little fake, you know, their little fake woman. We got Shane Gillis in there. I'm feeling good with it. We're back.
Yeah, Shane's a CIA plant, though. You know that, right?
No way.
I can't wait to watch him on SNL. I can't wait to watch Tucker.
I know that's exciting. That's exciting that he's hosting SNL.
Yeah, there you go. All right. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this episode. We'll be back on Tuesday. Take care.